I got a reply from the Prime Minister's office today. It's, what day is it today? Friday, March the 4th, I think. But they respond back to me, said, I would like to acknowledge receipt of your email sent to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I sincerely regret the delay in replying. Thank you for taking the time to write. You may be assured that your comments have been carefully reviewed. I have taken the liberty of forwarding your email to the Honourable Marco Mendicino, Minister of Public Safety, so that he may be made aware of your correspondence. Once again, thank you for writing. H. Clancy, Executive Correspondence Officer. He's responding to an email that I sent on the 21st of November, 2021, a couple of months ago. And I say to them, Office of the Prime Minister, I never did get a response from my email of November 21, 2020, which I state, I think it is important for me to state that given the seriousness of the matters that I bring up and my treatment thus far, it is very fair for me to be extremely fearful of the government's lack of response. Why should I feel this way? I should feel safe. It is important to view this situation from my perspective. Your Minister of Justice, David Lameddy's office, has been properly served with a charter complaint to bring to the attention of Parliament the matter of federal judges claiming powers that go beyond the limits provided for in the Charter of Rights. His failure to respond whatsoever with the charter complaint is an obstruction of justice and brings the administration of justice into disrepute. It is illegal and unconstitutional. It is a breach of the Charter of Rights to fail to respond to a charter complaint. Your administration is claiming it is not bound by our governing document. The Parliamentary Ethics Commissioner has been notified and has accepted the complaint. I have attempted to notify the Parliamentary Committee on Justice and Human Rights, but a gatekeeper at that committee has refused to present my evidence to the committee. The RCMP National Intake Unit, tasked with the mandate to safeguard and investigate significant threats to Canada's political, economic, and social integrity, has refused to investigate and threatened to destroy evidence, despite their mandate to investigate complaints concerning federally elected members of Parliament. This matter is a failing from a matter of Judge Shaw's fitness as a judge that was put before Parliament on February 2nd, 1999. Parliament was determined at that time to respond. However, based on the pleas from the then Minister of Justice, Anne McClellan, they permitted the justice system to resolve the matter internally. However, the consequences of that is reverberating still and will destroy the integrity of Canada's justice system unless immediate steps are taken to restore the integrity of the Charter of Rights, and that involves political leadership. I submit the following quotes from Parliament from all sides of the political spectrum from 1999. It is important for Parliament to reassert its intention both with respect to the Charter and with respect to the Criminal Code. We have a duty to protect citizens. As legislators, we have an obligation to conduct ourselves in a manner that respects the rule of law. This is the highest court in the land. The people of Canada assume that the House of Commons is the supreme power in the country. Under this Justice Minister, the government has allowed the courts to become the lawmakers. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms is a legal instrument we have given ourselves to guarantee the fundamental rights and freedoms of everyone. This is an instrument we are proud of, and rightly so. It represents our core values. In the final analysis, who is on the hook if a judge screws up? It is the Prime Minister and the Justice Minister. Sorry, I've lost my place here. I believe that in Canada we have a system where we have parliamentary supremacy. That means we have a responsibility. We cannot abdicate it and say that every question has to go to the Supreme Court. We can act here in the House. The Minister of Justice is not defending the rule of law. She is undermining it today by refusing to assert the sovereignty of this Parliament to defend innocent children. The whole issue of trusting the judicial process to address this tragic situation is wrong. If we are ever going to send a message to the judiciary that parliamentary supremacy over legislation is meaningful, and if the public at large is going to receive that message as well, there is no better time to use this than at a time when something so offends the common sensibilities of people. They place greater emphasis on the importance of the authority of judges, as opposed to those of us who place greater emphasis on the importance of the authority of Parliament. It is a legitimate debate to have in a democracy. This is not a political issue. I suspect and hope there are members of all parties who will support this motion this evening. And I call on my colleagues on all sides of the House to not impute motives to one another here, but let us assert the sovereignty of this Parliament. We can act, the Constitution gives us the power to act, and we must act. To do otherwise is to abdicate our fundamental democratic responsibility. I point out that what distinguishes our society from non-democratic societies is the rule of law. There is no question that no one in the House today has indicated anything but abhorrence for the decision of the Chief Justice of the British Columbia Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Based on an earlier decision of a vote in the House, may I recommend we close this place and let the judges and courts run this country. I also had the good fortune to read Trust by the former Governor-General of Canada. I just include a summary of quotes from the introduction and foreword and the first chapter. The message is clear. The book's called 20 Ways to Build a Better Country by David Johnston, the 28th Governor-General of Canada. And he dedicates it to children who offer their trust instinctively and with full expectation of fairness. The foreword was written by the Right Honourable Beverley McLachlin, former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. She says, "One of the most important challenges of our day, how to maintain trust in ourselves and our institutions. Trust in most democracies is decreasing, yet without trust, our democracies cannot function effectively. How can we restore trust? By making ourselves worthy of trust, by building trust around us, and by creating a more trustworthy and trusted country. We sometimes feel that our individual actions cannot make a meaningful and lasting difference in the complex world we inhabit. This book puts the lie to that feeling. It demonstrates that every one of us, high or humble, can work to increase trust in ourselves, our society, and our country." And then David Johnston goes on in his introduction, an invitation to trust. Trust as a firm belief in the reliability, truth, or ability of someone or something, or the acceptance of the truth of a statement without proof. Trust is the bedrock of democracy. Democracy depends on a rule of law that strives towards justice. That rule of law depends on trust, a trust in each other as citizens, and a trust between citizens and the institutions that stand for and serve them. Trust in these relationships means sharing a belief in basic facts. People who trust are reluctant to tailor facts to their views instead of their views to the facts. If one does not consider anything to be true, if one believes facts are fungible commodities, if one thinks journalism a sham and history a con, then the rule of law cannot work. And if the rule of law cannot work, then our democracy and its institutions are doomed. We tend to think little about trust because it is a curious quality that is almost always more noticeable in its absence than in its presence, as something much more likely to be lost than gained. And he quotes from Onara O'Neill, "Well-placed trust grown out of active inquiry rather than blind acceptance." And David Johnston goes on to, "Equipped with this understanding, we can then, with eyes wide open, identify, explore, and evaluate the attitudes, habits, and approaches that makes a person trustworthy, that makes a business, organization, or public institution trustworthy, and that makes a country trustworthy." Part 1. Make yourself worthy of trust. 8 ways to think and act so that other people view you as trustworthy. 1. Never manipulate. Trusting relationships depend on full, true, and plain disclosure and a commitment never to distort or deceive. Full and true disclosure of relevant information in all aspects of a democratic society gives citizens the capacity to filter truths from falsehood. An important distinction must be made between manipulation and persuasion. The worst leaders manipulate by failing to disclose vital information or by disclosing only the information that supports their views, decisions, and actions. The best leaders persuade in great part by being open about their motives and goals. The urgent need for someone in authority to act in a way to preserve trust, or at least prevent a substantial erosion of that trust. Disclose fully and truly, share credit, accept responsibility, and above all, never manipulate and certainly never deceive. David Johnson continues, I hope I have made myself clear. David was a lawyer for a number of years as well before he became Governor General, or he still is probably, who knows. I know, and then I go on in my letter, I know that your father was instrumental in his efforts to bring the Charter of Rights to the people of Canada. Follow and extend your legacy by protecting your fathers. The people will love you for it. There is much work to be done. I am available and I want to help to restore the integrity of your office, Parliament, and the justice system. Leadership is required. I attach the communication with the Parliamentary Commissioner of Ethics, the United Nations, the Minister of Justice, and the brief provided to the Parliamentary Committee on Justice and Human Rights. I am currently in the court system, and this situation is compromising the integrity of the RCMP, Crown Prosecution Office, judges, the Minister of Justice, Parliament, and your own office. The people are looking for your leadership. Sincerely, Trevor Holsworth. And I left my phone number to contact me. But I did get an email. Thank you very much.